Welcome to the Lumenverse. Before we begin, are you listening to this while it's raining, or is it sunny where you are? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoy our stories, please remember to like and subscribe. Now, let's begin. Far beyond the edges of known maps, shrouded in silver mists that never burned away with dawn, lay a valley forgotten by time. Here the stars did not merely shine, they poured light like liquid silver upon the earth, crowning the land in an eternal hush of radiance. And at its heart stood the Library of Stars. No walls defined it, only towering shelves carved from moonstone spiraled into the sky, stretching higher than sight could follow. Each book upon them pulsed with soft light, constellations bound in leather and leafed through pages made of twilight itself. The spines shimmered with forgotten names and cosmic truths, histories of fallen galaxies, songs sung by comets, love letters between twin stars, travelers who found their way there, always by accident or longing. All spoke alike. It appeared only when silence reigned deep. When no voice broke the night's breath, when even dreams paused to listen, then came a whisper through the grass, not words, but invitation. The doors would open on their own, a low hum rising as starlight coiled into archways, and within, no one remembered clearly what they read, only that they wept upon finishing it, for every book contained not just knowledge, but memory. Their true memories, the ones lost to time or grief or choices buried too deep. But beware, though none were ever trapped within its halls, some returned changed beyond recognition. For once you have read your soul under those skies, you can never pretend to be small again. And so ends this quiet beginning, with wonder breathing across mist and starlight. Lyra stood at the edge of the mist, breath caught in her throat. Before her rose the library, not built, but born, it seemed, of starlight and stillness. Its arches arched like sleeping dragons, its pillars carved with constellations no sky had ever shown. The glow came not from lamps or fire, but from within. Books humming softly on shelves that spiraled into the heavens, their titles flickering like distant suns. The air tasted of memory and snow on stone. A breeze touched Lyra's cheek, warm and hushed, and for a moment she thought she heard a voice, not speaking words, but singing them beneath the silence. She didn't know how long she stood there, minutes, hours. Time bent gently here, like light through crystal. Then one book pulsed brighter than the rest, a soft throb of gold among silver flames. It hovered slightly forward on its shelf as if recognizing her, as if waiting. Lyra stepped inside without thinking, the door sealed behind her with a sigh, not closing to keep her in, but protecting what now lived between those pages, her story. Beginning at last, a gentle hush greeted Lyra as she crossed the threshold, a hush like that of a forest beneath snowfall. But here the air was still and cool, and the only sound that of her own breath. Her footsteps made no echo as she walked the labyrinth of shelves. The library had no corridors, only curving pathways spiraling ever higher until Lyra was no longer sure which floor she stood on. And yet, a part of her wasn't lost. Rather, led through the twisting passages as though by a guiding hand. Lyra gasped softly, her heart skipping. The old man looked up, a smile lifting the corners of his wise, wrinkled lips. "You are not one of my regulars," he said in a voice that felt more felt than heard. "I remember every face." Lyra found she could not speak. Instead, her hand pointed to the shelves, where one book pulsed gently, its cover gleaming soft gold. Lyra followed wordlessly, awestruck. The glow was like sunlight and candlelight, cool and warm at once. The librarian led Lyra to the book that had caught her eye, a golden tome pulsing softly, as if in time with his steps. As they approached the shelf, he turned to Lyra, voice so quiet it was almost a breath. "There is a story here waiting for you, one you have not yet heard. All you need do is listen." Lyra's breath trembled as she turned the pages, her fingers brushing over scenes that moved like living dreams. Her childhood home beneath autumn rain, the lantern-lit village where a stranger once gave her bread, the hilltop where she'd first wept under the stars, every forgotten sigh, every silent hope, all of it remembered. Stillness. The last pages glowed with soft expectancy, no ink, no images yet formed, just space, a canvas waiting not to be written on but to be lived. She looked up at the librarian, voice barely above a whisper. "This isn't just my story, is it?" He smiled gently. "No," he said. "It is yours to become." Around them, the library breathed in time with her heartbeat. Outside, beyond stone and starlight and mist, the world waited too. Lyra nodded. She understood now. The library was a place between worlds, a bridge between the stars and the earth. And while each soul had a book, a chapter, only some were given the chance to continue writing it. Her fingers traced the golden book, feeling its gentle pulse beneath. There was something more waiting for her beyond those pages. Something waiting to be discovered. She wanted to ask 100 questions, but just one crossed her lips. What do I do now? Days passed like seconds within the library. Lyra slept, wandered, spoke in hushed tones with the librarian about the world before and the world beyond. The words and images within her golden book changed with each night. A new memory here, a hidden hope there, as if her very thoughts shaped the pages. And yet, with each passing day she felt more at peace, as if some ache deep within her was slowly, gently healing. On each full moon, the librarian would smile and bid her good night, then disappear into the shelves, as if becoming one with the library's silence. Lyra's breath caught as she stared up. She had seen stars before, by the hundreds, by the thousands, but here it was like being inside their home. There was no smog or smog to dim them, no clouds or light to dull their fire. They shone like a blanket of diamonds, each one singing its silent song. After a time, the old librarian found her in the alcove. His footsteps made no sound in the vastness. He simply appeared beside her, a soft smile at the corner of his lips. The room beyond was a dome of glass, like an upraised cup brimming with night sky. Lyra looked up and around her, her breath stolen. Every star and planet of the galaxy spread out around them, so close, she felt she might reach out and touch them. She could even see the silver ribbon of the Milky Way, so beautiful that it hurt to look at. For a long time she just stared, watching constellations shift and spin in silent dance. She wanted this night to go on forever. But just as she realized how cold she had grown, the librarian turned to her. Lyra gently touched the petals of the flowers. Their glow pulsed softly, each one whispering in a language of its own. She could hear laughter in one, tears in another, the words, the memories, all blending together in the same quiet hush of leaves. Then one flower, a little apart from the others, caught Lyra's eye. It did not glow like the rest. She glanced at the librarian, who nodded encouragingly. They walked in silence for a time, the soft glow of the garden casting gentle shadows on the path. Then Lyra stopped, drawn once more to that quiet flower, the one that didn't glow. She knelt again and brushed her fingers over its closed petals. A faint breath of air stirred them open just slightly, and from within came not a whisper, but a single note, pure and clear as a bell. Her heart trembled. "I think it wants to be heard," she said softly. The librarian smiled. "Then perhaps," he said, "you are meant to help it bloom." He drew a sharp breath, looking up at the constellations high above. The stars glowed softly, each one an inkwell ready to spill its light. She realized what the librarian was offering, a way to continue her own story. But even as the idea filled her with hope, Lyra felt a pang of fear. Was she ready to give her story a beginning and end? To turn her hopes and dreams from a quiet dream into words that would forever be written on the sky? The librarian regarded her patiently, waiting. Hours passed as Lyra continued to write, dipping her quill and pausing only to stare at the constellations above. Her thoughts and memories took shape upon the parchment, becoming a part of something much larger than herself. And as she wrote, Lyra found that her story didn't feel as daunting as it had before. When she finished, Lyra set the quill aside. She took a deep breath, feeling her heart settle. She had kept some things to herself, some hopes that she wasn't yet ready to share. But that was all right. Perhaps someday. And so, beneath the shifting constellations of the scriptorium of dreams, Lyra rested, her soul at peace. The next morning, she awoke refreshed, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The librarian stood nearby, smiling quietly. "How long can I be here?" Lyra asked him. "As long as you like," he replied. "The night is endless here, as endless as your story." As Lyra climbed the stairway, she found herself passing windows set into the walls. Each one was like a painting, showing a different scene. A field of golden wheat, a city under a blue sky, a forest of red and gold trees in the wind, a vast mountain range stretching to the horizon. When at last she and the librarian reached the top of the stair, Lyra realized the scent of honey was coming from the room ahead. He pushed open the doors, and Lyra gasped softly. Lyra stepped forward breathless. The air hummed with quiet power, as if each globe held not just light but life. She reached out, not daring to touch, and one nearby flared softly, its glow shifting from deep sapphire to warm amber. Within its glass curve, a tiny storm swirled, clouds twisting like ink in water. "The Keep of Souls," the librarian said gently. Each light you see is a heart that once wandered far, some lost, some found, some who wrote their stories here, others who simply needed rest. He paused beside her. They chose to stay, not as people, but as light, guardians of the unfinished tales. Lyra watched a crimson globe pulse once, then again, like it was breathing in time with her own. "Do they remember?" she whispered. The old man smiled faintly. "Only what matters." Lyra moved in silence, her reflection shimmering across the glass stardust. Each globe held not just a memory but a feeling, the warmth of laughter, the hush after forgiveness, the quiet joy of belonging. She stopped before one that glowed soft gold. Inside she saw herself, smaller, younger, sitting beneath an apple tree with her mother. They were reading aloud from a tattered book. Rain tapped gently on leaves above them. A moment she'd forgotten, or thought lulled in her ever. Not from sorrow, but recognition. The librarian stood beside her, voice barely audible. "Some memories are too precious to carry alone, so we let them breathe here, where they're loved by all who pass." And as Lyra watched her younger self laugh at something unseen, a smile breaking through raindrop and leaf, she moved to another, watching a young woman laugh with friends by bonfire light. Then a woman tending her garden, petals floating from her hands. An old couple in rocking chairs, listening to the night with the quiet understanding of decades. Lyra touched each one, and her heart seemed to whisper back, "I see you." It was like learning to speak a new language, a language of the soul, silent, yet more alive than any sound. Beneath that boundless sky, the observatory stood like a shrine to wonder. Stone pillars carved with ancient constellations, benches of silver-veined marble, and in the center, a single armillary sphere turning slowly on its own. Lyra stepped forward, breath caught in her chest. The stars above didn't just shine, they moved. Not randomly, but in patterns too beautiful for words. A dancer than time, the librarian stood beside her. "This is where we listen," he said softly. "To what?" she whispered. "To the stories the stars are still writing," a silence settled, not empty but full, like the pause between heartbeats. And then, Lyra heard it, a faint hum beneath her feet, rising through stone and bone into her chest. Not sound, but meaning. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, truly understood. She wasn't just writing her story anymore. She was becoming part of its song. Lyra gasped. Through the telescope the cosmos breathed. Each world spun with purpose. Each river of light across distant skies sang a nameless tune. She saw cities woven into trees, libraries floating above clouds, and great whales gliding through rings of starlit dust. One planet, cloaked in amber mist, held a single tower rising from a lake so still it reflected two moons at once. And there, for just an instant, she thought she saw herself, standing at the top, eyes closed as if listening to something no one else could hear. She pulled back, heart racing. "Was that?" she began. The librarian smiled, not answering with words, but with knowing in his eyes. "The future is not fixed," he said gently, "but some paths are brighter than others." Above them, the stars pulsed softly, as if winking at what was yet to come. For a moment, Lyra wondered if all this, her story, the library's light, the silent power of the keep, was just a dream, or beautiful madness. But the stars kept sparkling, the librarian kept smiling, and below, her own path kept shimmering, unfinished and shining. Lyra brushed her eyes, breathing deep. Her heart felt full, like a glass brimming to the brim. There was so much she still wanted to see, to ask, to know, but she wasn't ready. Not yet. Lyra leaned against the railing, the night sky cradling her in its breath. The stars above no longer felt distant. They pulsed with kinship, as if each one whispered her name in a language older than words. The librarian stood beside her, his lantern dimming like a heartbeat at rest. "You'd have to choose tonight," he said gently. "Whether to stay or return, whether to wander further or write more pages. The library will wait for you, always." And then, without another word, he turned and walked back down the corridor, the soft echo of his steps fading into starlight. Lyra remained beneath the open sky, wrapped in stillness. Somewhere deep within her golden book stirred, a new chapter beginning, not with ink, but with light. And far beyond the silver mists, the world waited too, for stories yet told. All seemed to stretch endlessly before them. No windows interrupted the smooth stone, no candles cast flickering shadows. Lyra could almost pretend they were alone in the world. The old librarian, his silent lantern, and a soft glow that beckoned somewhere in the distance. As they walked, Lyra found herself asking the questions that filled her heart. almost without realizing it. They came quiet and simple, like prayers. Is this real? She whispered. The librarian glanced at her and smiled faintly. Does it feel real to you? Lyra watched, transfixed. The sunrises seemed to speak a silent, endless language, of new beginnings, of the quiet moments before the world awoke. Some were slow to wake, each star clinging on like the light on Lyra's heart. Some were soft, barely glimmering like a first whisper of dawn, and others bloomed with such brightness that Lyra felt tears well in her eyes, not of sorrow or pain, though the sadness of endings lived within them, but of understanding. A gift given in silence. Lyra nodded, still watching the desert glow. She knew the library held memories of endings too, some bright, some solemn, all real. But there was no sorrow here, only the quiet promise of dawn breaking over the horizon, again and again and again, until every story could be seen in its full brilliance. The librarian watched her quietly, as though letting that truth sink in. Finally, Lyra drew a quiet breath. May I stay here a little longer? She whispered. She couldn't quite tell if they were footsteps or whispers carried on the air, but they were there, soft and slow, like a heartbeat in the silence. Lyra followed the sound, walking the darkness until her hand rested on cool stone. She leaned closer, straining to listen. The whispers grew louder, almost recognizable. Then she understood. They weren't whispers, they were words. Lyra felt a smile playing around her lips. There was a comfort here, the peace of shared joy, the quiet light that comes from simple kindness. The chamber's echoes seemed to say, "You are not alone." She closed her eyes again, breathing deep, letting the gentle sounds of shared laughter and whispered thanks wash over her. In that moment, with the librarian's silent presence beside her, Lyra realized a truth that settled in her heart like a promise. Home can be found in small moments. Lyra walked on, the soft sounds of the chamber surrounding her. She caught snippets of love and pain, joy and sorrow, the words of strangers she would never meet. "You are so strong, I promise, you can, I love you, never doubt that." The whispers wrapped her in a blanket of understanding. "You are always enough." In that moment, she felt every emotion at once, every word given and taken, in its full brightness. And it was good. The journey went on. Lyra saw more than she could possibly remember, a lifetime's worth of knowledge woven into halls of stone, lit by 1,000 silent stories. The library held a wisdom she couldn't find words for, as endless as her own past, as bright as the moments still to be lived. The hall of gentle echoes seemed to whisper to her, saying, "Remember what light has been given, know its worth." And that quiet wisdom carried Lyra forward, ever deeper into the library's endless light. Lyra felt time slow, then speed. The halls seemed endless, the lights of the library shifting as they passed. Lyra walked in silence, the librarian's lantern casting shadows across stone that hummed softly beneath her feet. They passed through halls of history, each one filled with records of lives lived and lost. She saw heroes remembered and forgotten, stories of courage and hope, written into stone and starlight. At last, the librarian turned into a vast, silent vault. High above, Lyra saw a great wheel of constellations spinning slowly, a map of the sky as vast and ancient as time. Lyra followed the librarian's gaze, her eyes going wide at the sight. The constellations shimmered with such brightness that she felt they could reach down and carry her into the heavens. The librarian smiled faintly, following her gaze. "The stars guide us," Lyra nodded, trying to find words for what she felt. The library held 1,000,000 stories, but the stars seemed different. A language as old as time, written in light. "But they're not just light, they have meaning," she said slowly. "There's knowledge there." The librarian nodded. "Each star is a story," he said quietly, "a world with a tale to tell. Some shine brightly from the day they're born, so bright that their light carries on forever. Others burn quietly, their glow fading gently away with time." He placed a gentle hand on Lyra's shoulder. "And some have yet to start their journey. They wait with light in their hearts, and the promise of stories yet to come." Lyra watched the constellations slowly drift. The stories written above held purpose. They spoke of something greater. They reminded her of the soft hum she'd heard in the dark hall, and the whispers in the gentle echoes. Every moment matters, Lyra thought. Every life is a thread in a story, waiting to be woven. The stars were part of it, as much as the moon or the clouds. She looked up at the librarian. "All parts of the same song," she whispered. The librarian nodded, his eyes fixed on the lights above. All connected, and yet so far away, Lyra understood then. Light had a way of connecting things that seemed far apart. The stars carried the echoes of worlds too distant to touch, but the words they shared still found a way. The librarian stepped closer to Lyra, holding his lantern. "There's another story, too," he said quietly. Lyra gave him a questioning look. "Another story?" The old librarian smiled faintly. "Perhaps the greatest mystery the universe has to offer." He led her out of the great vault, through halls and corridors until they came to a small, quiet room. There were no windows, no library shelves, just a simple table, a single chair, and a chest as bright as starlight sitting in the middle of the room. Lyra stared at the chest, its light glimmering like the stars themselves. "This is the mystery?" she asked, her voice hushed. The librarian nodded, resting his gnarled hands on the lid. "A legend says this chest holds the stars' secret," he whispered. "Their true meaning, hidden since the beginning of time." Lyra stepped closer, heart pounding. The chest pulsed faintly, once, like a heartbeat. She reached out, then paused. "What happens if I open it?" The librarian's eyes were deep with knowing. "No one who opens it walks away unchanged." A long silence settled between them, soft as dust on old pages. Then Lyra knelt. Her fingers brushed the latch. It was warm, humming with quiet power, and she whispered, not to him, but to the unknown, "I'm ready." The latch gave way with a soft chime, like a star being born. Lyra lifted the lid. A breath of light, gentle, golden, spilled out and curled into the air. Not blinding, not loud, but alive. Inside lay not pages or stars or word in stone, but a single mirror. Her own face stared back, not as she was now, weary and wandering, but radiant, whole, eyes alight with purpose, a smile that had known sorrow but still chose to rise. And beneath her reflection, written in no language she knew yet understood completely, "You were never lost. You were becoming." Tears slipped free without warning. She hadn't found the answer to every mystery, but she had found herself. Lyra sat back, breath trembling. The light from the mirror softened, folding into her chest like a secret returning home. The librarian watched her with quiet joy. "Some truths," he said, "aren't meant to be spoken, only known." She nodded, unable to speak. Outside the chamber, a single note rang through the library, pure and distant, like a bell struck at dawn. And far above them, in the sky beyond glass and stone and time, a new star flickered into being. Small, steady, shining. The librarian smiled. They left the room, the chest of starlight cradled in Lyra's arms. The library hummed softly around them, filling the air with the sound of stories, each one written in the language of light. As they descended the long corridor, Lyra felt its hum pulse like a heartbeat, and she saw herself again, lit by the library's glow. A moment ago, she'd seen herself as lost, wandering, but now she saw herself for what she really was, not wandering but finding. They reached a great archway where moonlight spilled across the floor like silver water. The librarian stopped, turning to her. "You need not stay," he said gently, "not if your heart calls you elsewhere." Lyra looked down at the chest, still warm in her arms, and then beyond the arch, where stars shimmered over distant hills and winding roads she once traveled. She thought of dawn over quiet villages, of laughter shared by firelight, of stories whispered into the dark that never truly faded. Her journey wasn't over, but now she carried something new, not just memory, not just light, but certainty. She met the old man's eyes and smiled. "I'll return," she said softly. He bowed his head. "The library will be here." And with that, Lyra stepped through the arch, into starlight, into stillness, into story, walking forward not because she had to, but because every step now glowed. The path beneath her feet shimmered faintly, as if remembering her. Lyra walked slowly at first, then with growing sureness. The wind carried the scent of distant rain and blooming jasmine. Behind her, the library faded into mist and moonlight, not gone, but waiting, like a book gently closed but never finished. With each step forward she felt it, the quiet hum in her chest, not just memory now, but presence. She glanced down at the chest still cradled in her arms, and saw that its light had dimmed, not lost, but settled, as if its secret had been passed not from hand to hand, but from heart to world. And when she finally reached the crest of a hill where two roads diverged, one winding toward sunrise, one shadowed by ancient trees, she paused. She didn't hesitate long. Lyra smiled, set the chest gently beneath a silver-barked tree, and let it sink into roots and soil, not buried but planted. A new story would grow here, and somewhere beyond dawn's edge, a child would one day find it, open it, and begin their own journey, under stars that remembered everything, and whispered, "You were never lost. You were becoming." Lyra stood still beneath the silver-barked trees. In the distance, a bird began to sing. Far above, the first sliver of dawn shimmered above the horizon, like a golden ribbon unfurling amid the clouds. Lyra breathed deep, breathing in the stillness. She wasn't lost, she was found. She started down one twisting road, and as she walked, she hummed to herself softly, singing a quiet tune passed from heart to heart. Across the hills, the sound of hoofsteps and laughter carried on the breeze. Lyra breathed in the scents of morning, dew-damp grass, distant rain, blooming jasmine, and found her pace quickening, matching the rhythm of hoofsteps. Up ahead, she saw a village taking shape in the misty dawn. There was a tavern by its edge, and in the street, a few townsfolk gathered around a traveling cart. She reached them just as the cart's owner finished unloading supplies, and when they looked up, smiles breaking across their faces. "Oh, Lyra," cried one. Lyra smiled back as they hurried to meet her, and as they embraced, their words came all in a rush. "We wondered where you'd gone. You must tell us about your journey." Lyra laughed softly, setting down her leather pack. "I was looking for a new story to write." Their eyes widened. "Where did you go?" asked a boy. She glanced up at the silver-barked trees, to a chest half hidden beneath their limbs. "A place as old as the stars, and as gentle as dawn." The other villagers exchanged looks. One chuckled faintly. "Did you find that chest there?" Lyra shook her head. "I carried it there. It's a gift for someone who wanders this way." An old woman tilted her head. "If I may say, child, you look different." Lyra smiled softly. "I feel different too. Like something's changed." She tried to put it into words, but her thoughts were as gentle as the breeze, as fleeting as mist. The villagers waited, watching quietly with smiles. They knew her well enough not to push, and in that quiet, Lyra found her answer. She breathed deep, watching the wind move through the silver-barked trees, and with a voice that held the stories and starlight, she told her friends what the library's light had taught her. "We all change," she said simply, "and for better or for great." The villagers listened quietly as she told them what she'd seen in that small chamber beneath a vast and endless sky. And when she finished, a boy with wide blue eyes whispered, "You know all that, and you still come back?" Lyra laughed, reaching out to ruffle his hair. "Of course," she told him. "But you know why?" "Because stories aren't just found in stars or secret halls," she said, crouching down to meet the boy's eyes. "They're here, right now, in your laughter, in this dawn, in the bread cooling at the baker's window." She glanced toward the silver trees again, where a single firefly drifted near the buried chest. "The greatest adventures don't always take you far," she murmured. "Sometimes they bring you home." And as if on cue, the baker emerged from his shop, pulling fresh loaves from his oven. The smell of warm bread filled the air. Someone started laughing. The boy grabbed her hand and tugged her toward town. "Come on," he said brightly. "You have to taste this." Lyra looked back one last time, toward hill and tree and sky, and smiled, knowing some doors never truly close and some hearts, once opened, stay lit forever. Lyra felt warmth all around her as the boy pulled her through the village, his grip strong and sure. She laughed softly to herself, remembering when she'd been his age. And all her stories were simple things like heroes and battles. They reached the baker's, where a crowd stood sharing bread and pastries. Lyra took a warm slice and closed her eyes. Even that small, peaceful moment held stories to be told. And the light of things not yet seen. The boy led Lyra along, his footsteps light along the cobbled road while a breeze played with their hair. Around them the village was waking up. A songbird flitted between trees, children laughed in a doorway, an old man smiled in the distance. They walked and they ate, sharing bites of bread and bits of their lives with every step. They laughed, cried, dreamed, and became, knowing somewhere a story was beginning, like a seedling reaching for the sun. And the story, like all stories, went on. The end, nestled at the edge of the world, there was a hidden harbor, concealed from the maps and infrequently found by ships. The tranquil waters boasted a persistent shimmer, reminiscent of starlight, Even during cloudy nights, the coastal village that emerged from the shore existed in a harmonious rhythm with the ocean. The buildings showcased rounded slate-blue rooftops, constantly emitting the inviting scent of wood smoke from their smoking chimneys. Lamps, hanging from every entrance, cast a soft, warm glow reminiscent of amber, ensuring the streets maintained a sense of warmth and comfort even as the moon receded from sight. During the day, children would frolic near the wooden docks, their laughter carried away by the gentle sea breeze, while fishermen diligently mended their nets, exchanging tales about the boundless horizon. Above it all, the tall lighthouse stood stoically, adorned in a pure white hue reminiscent of a seashell. Come nightfall, when the waves rolled in with a mesmerizing quietness, the harbor revealed its unique secret. As the night deepened, the sea itself would begin to whisper, creating an atmospheric ambiance distinct and captivating. Under the cover of darkness and a gentle rainfall, young Trilara found herself drawn to the deserted streets. She walked alone, her cloak wrapped snugly around her shoulders, seeking solace in the quiet ambience of the harbor. During these moments, when most of the village slept, she would venture out, finding refuge amidst the silence and listening intently. On this particular evening, the whispers seemed to penetrate the night more profoundly than they had ever done before. The gentle rhythm of the tide whispered its comforting symphony, not in explicit words but in the subtle undercurrents of sensations. It shared sensations of warmth, tranquility, and an alluring invitation. Ilara stood, her eyelids slowly drifting closed as she inhaled the scent of the ocean. In that moment, a profound understanding washed over her. It was not simply a call to adventure that tugged at her heartstrings, but an invitation to embark upon this journey with a sense of purpose. The world around her seemed to encourage her to proceed slowly, deliberately, as if each step were part of an intricate dream. The young dreamer, Ilara, remained at the edge of the docks, her face kissed by the gentle rain, her gaze reflecting the dancing reflections cast by the flickering lanterns upon the harbor waters. The whispering tide continued to coax her thoughts, gently urging her mind toward the distant horizon where the sea melded indistinguishably with the night's velvety cloak. Her memories stirred, evoking tales from her grandmother's bedtime stories, tales of intrepid adventurers and explorers who heeded the enigmatic whispers of the sea, venturing toward places that had never graced a map. A soft smile played upon Ilara's lips as she remembered those tales and adjusted her cloak. Although she wasn't quite convinced of her own bravery yet, she found solace in simply listening to the gentle whispers of the sea. The rain began to subside, transforming into a delicate mist, and with it, the powerful beam of the lighthouse cut through the inky darkness. Each time the sweeping light brushed her figure, Ilara felt an odd reassurance, as though the lighthouse were beckoning her deeper, not toward the vastness of the unknown, but inwards, towards the still corners of her heart that bred her wildest dreams. Ilara's dreams carried her to the familiar harbor once more, but this time, she wasn't alone. A figure shrouded in sea blue stood beside her, steadfastly holding a lantern whose flame remained unfazed by the wind. Although their face was obscured, their voice resonated with a tranquility that mirrored the ocean. The figure addressed her softly, saying, "The harbor has chosen you. When the time is right, follow the whispers, and they shall guide you beyond the boundaries of the horizon." Ilara yearned to inquire about the destiny awaiting her journey, or why she had been chosen. As dawn broke, the morning air filled with the mellifluous chorus of seagulls and the tantalizing fragrance of freshly baked bread that filled the cobblestone streets. The villagers busied themselves with their daily routines, oblivious to the fact that the dreams and whispers of the harbor still lingered in Ilara's heart. She made her way back to the harbor, and although the whispers seemed to recede during the light of day, she sensed their subtle yet steadfast presence, an unspoken pledge waiting patiently to be honored. Ilara settled at the edge of the wooden dock, her feet grazing the cool surface of the water, and tuned her thoughts to the hushed whispers that permeated the harbor. The sea, ever the patient teacher, did not rush her forward with haste, but instead imparted wisdom through the quiet moments of contemplation and introspection, a gentle reminder that not all journeys commenced with grand gestures or decisive actions, but rather with introspective moments of attentive listening, deliberate breathing, and surrendering oneself to the rhythm of nature until the heart itself was prepared to traverse the unknown. Ilara remained perched on the edge of the dock, her slender fingertips playfully tracing the surface of the water, immersed in the soothing cadence it emitted, as if harboring an untold secret. The morning air was cool and crisp, with the clouds overhead taking on a pallid silver hue as they thinned out gradually. It passed as the harbor's activity slowed, with fishermen returning from their early morning ventures, their nets glistening with fresh catches, and the rhythmic noise of shopkeepers opening their stalls echoed against the cobblestone streets. Despite the world around her stirring to life, Elara remained unfazed. In the tranquil hours that unfolded, Elara started to perceive the harbor's hidden enchantments. The melodic cries of seagulls reverberated against the cliffs like a symphony conducted by the winds. The suspended lanterns swayed gracefully, yet their luminescence appeared warmer and more radiant than usual, their glow emulating the warmth of the sun. As the tide neared its peak, its waves gently lapping at her boots, the water emitted a subtle yet enigmatic shimmer that transcended the reflection of the sky. Instead, it sparkled faintly, resembling the ethereal allure of hidden stars hidden beneath the surface. Elara pondered if anyone besides her had ever noticed these fleeting moments of enchantments, questioning whether these wonders were a private revelation meant only for her to cherish. And yet, another thought took hold. Perhaps these subtle marvels had always been there, patiently waiting for someone to take the time to truly observe. That evening, as the rain gracefully fell on the rooftops, she returned to her cozy abode, feeling a sense of tranquility enveloping her chest. She ignited a single candle beside the window, poured herself a steaming cup of spiced tea, and nestled herself comfortably in her chair. Elara's dreams once again transported her to the familiar setting of the harbor, where she found herself standing on the dock, under the vast expanse of the star-studded sky. The figure with the lantern was an ever-present sentinel, their cloak dancing gracefully in the breeze. The question cut through the serene night like a whisper. "Will you listen again tomorrow?" Elara nodded silently, words feeling unnecessary. The figure lifted their lantern higher, casting a golden pathway across the water, stretching infinitely towards the horizon. "When you are ready," they murmured, "the sea will carry you far beyond your wildest." The days melded together into a seamless rhythm, with Elara waking up each morning with a gentle ease, going about her daily life as usual, and eventually making her way to the harbor each evening. With each passing night, the whispers of the sea became more distinguishable, no longer merely vague sensations or abstract feelings, but rather precise emotions of comfort, curiosity, and a promise of future journeys yet to come. She also found a change occurring in herself, a subtle transformation she couldn't deny. The mundane worries that once gnawed at her mind were gradually diminishing, leaving her with a lighter feeling, a sense of serenity. A remarkable discovery awaited Elara one tranquil morning when she traced her hand along the edge of the dock. Beneath her fingertips, she encountered a smooth and cool object, drawing her attention. Drawing her palm, she found a smooth stone, its once sharp edges now softened by the ceaseless embrace of the sea, gently glowing with a faint yet captivating starlight. A deep sense of recognition washed over her. The stone was not merely a mere pebble, but a heartfelt token bestowed upon her by the sea in its own silent language, a token bestowed in acknowledgement of her dedicated listening. As the nights persisted, Elara's connection with the harbor deepened, and she was content to take her time. There was no longer any urgency that had previously tugged at her, a newfound peace and trust settling within her, being like the constant ebb and flow of the tides. Within this rhythmic tranquility, she discovered not just solace but a profound sense of belonging. The whispers of the sea no longer merely offered guidance. They enveloped her in an embrace, guiding her steps with patience and wisdom. Elara roused from her slumber, her fingers cradling the faintly glowing stone. The luminous aura had diminished in the daylight, yet when she gently closed her eyelids and laid the stone against her heart, she could still discern a delicate pulse, akin to a tender, yet steadfast heartbeat. The gentle rhythm lulled her thoughts, exuding a sense of unwavering reassurance. Elara ventured through the quaint cobbled streets of the harbor town, carrying her precious stone discreetly within her pocket. The familiar sense of freshly baked bread, salty sea breeze, and damp wood filled the air, creating a comforting backdrop. Yet, as she strolled through the town, every detail seemed to carry a deeper significance, as though there were hidden layers of intrigue beneath the surface. The stone within her pocket thrummed with a subtle energy, as if gently nudging her to acknowledge the hidden connection between the ordinary and the magical. a connection that the world often overlooked. The evening's routine persisted, with Ilara's familiar journey to the harbor's edge, followed by the return home and the placement of the precious stone on the windowsill. Outside, the rain continued its gentle symphony, beating softly against the rooftops. Ilara nestled beneath a cozy blanket, her mind gradually succumbing to slumber, lulled by the rhythmic patter, until she finally slipped into the realm of dreams. Ilara listened intently. Her Phocian's voices became more discernible, weaving a rich symphony of emotions. The sea's whispers conveyed a kaleidoscope of joys, sorrows, wonders, and hopes that were both overwhelming and enchanting. In the presence of this profound experience, the figure with the lantern gently offered insight, stating, "They have been waiting for someone to listen, and you are the chosen listener." Alara to question the reasoning behind her selection, but the sea itself seemed to provide an answer, silently suggesting that every life and every heart formed an integral part of its symphonic melody. The memory of the previous evening's experience continued to resonate within her heart like a lingering warmth. She gently cradled the glowing stone, now aware of a subtle echo of the sea's soothing melody within its depths. Since that moment, Ilara began a new routine, diligently keeping a journal to document her experiences at the harbor. Each night after her nightly sojourn, she would meticulously record her feelings, the whispered messages she believed were whispers from the sea, and any memorable visuals that emerged in her dreams. Sometimes the memories stirred recollections of antiquated ships that once embarked from the harbor, while in other instances, she witnessed the passing weeks brought a subtle yet discernible transformation to her existence. Her demeanor exuded a sense of tranquility and ease that others around her began to notice. Neighbors would greet her with comments such as, "You seem lighter," or "You have a different aura about you now." Each time, Ilara would simply smile, keeping the extraordinary experiences she had witnessed within the harbor's embrace a closely guarded secret. As Ilara's bare feet made contact with the island's shoreline, a profound hush enveloped her, as though nature itself held its breath. She found herself immersed within a forest that seemed alive, possessing a life force unlike anything she had ever encountered. Under the night's cloak, as the rain fell with increased force, drenching the harbor, Ilara ventured into the realm of dreams once more. The golden pathway unfurled before her, and without a moment's hesitation she stepped forward, her bare feet gleaming against the luminous surface. The vast expanse of the sea surrounded her, but rather than triggering fear, it invoked an inner tranquility, as though the sea itself had enveloped her in a gentle embrace. The air carried the distinct scents of salt and wildflowers, creating an unusual but beautiful blend. In the distance, indistinct shapes materialized through the. Descending further into the island's core, Ilara discovered an ancient oak that seemed to be the very heart of this mysterious place. Its colossal roots intertwined and extended, forming a base large enough to support a dwelling. In its shadow, a tranquil pool of water mirrored the night sky above, its surface gently rippling with each soft breeze. The melodious sound became more pronounced here, its soothing and profound rhythm resonating like the heartbeat of the island itself. Ilara knelt by the tranquil pool, her fingertips gently skimming the water's surface. Images materialized within the pool, depicting memories of times long past. She beheld the landing of sailors who sought refuge on the island, planting seeds that sprouted into the vast, resilient trees present today. She was a witness to tumultuous storms and powerful winds that battered the island, yet the forest endured, bending but never succumbing. And through it all, countless tranquil nights unfolded when the stars shone above, and the island patiently waited, longing for someone to acknowledge its presence. Each morning, as Ilara awoke from the realm of dreams, the glowing stone in her possession pulsated with a renewed intensity, affirming the reality of her otherworldly experiences. The memories of the island's song echoed within her, a melody of endurance, resilience, and tranquility. Night after night, she found herself once again stepping onto the shimmering golden pathway, transported to the magical landscapes that unfolded in her dreams. Sometimes she wandered the crystalline caverns of the Silver Island, enchanted by the enchanting echoes that echoed within the sparkling chambers. In other adventures, she delighted in the expansive golden fields, where gently caressing breezes, with each new adventure unfolding every night. Ilara embraced the unique beauty of the diverse landscapes. As she explored the Silver Island and traversed the golden fields, she listened intently, attuned to the secrets held within these places, secrets that whispered tales of resilience and hope. The ever-present lantern figure remained steadfastly by her side. Though their words were few, their presence exuded a sense of steadfast guidance, reminiscent of a star's eternal glow, never faltering, always present. As the days wove together into a series of weeks, Ilara became keenly aware of the subtle transformation that was taking place within her. Despite maintaining her routine within her quaint harbor town, the boundaries that once confined her seemed to have evaporated, replaced by an expanded sense of belonging that transcended geographical boundaries. Her heart had become a sanctuary, housing the melodious whispers of the sea and the enchanting memories of the islands she had encountered during her dreams. The sea, with its timeless endurance, patiently awaited her first foray into wakeful travels, signaling a new chapter in her journey. The steady rhythm of the raindrops upon her window lulled her into the realm of dreams. As she clutched the softly glowing stone in her hand, eyelids fluttering shut, the familiar golden pathway stretched before her, its surface shimmering like silken moonlight upon the vast sea's surface. The lantern figure stood silently, their presence exuding a sense of hushed approval. That evening, the Silver Island beckoned to Ilara, promising to reveal its secrets. Ilara found herself standing in awe, immersed within the captivating Silver Island's cavern, its grand expanse stretching above like the vaulted ceiling of a magnificent cathedral, encrusted with glinting crystals mirroring each flicker. In the center of the breathtaking space, a pristine pool lay motionless, reflecting the illuminated walls in a mesmerizing dance of reflected light. As Ilara inhaled the ethereal surroundings, the cavern responded with a melodic symphony of echoing crystals. As if a chorus of voices reverberated through the very fabric of the chamber, each crystal seemed to hum softly, forming a profound harmony that resonated in her chest, evoking a feeling of being enfolded. As Ilara surrendered herself to the Silver Island's enchanting embrace, she found herself enveloped by an overwhelming sense of belonging, as if the cavern's voice spoke directly to her soul, acknowledging and validating the dreams she had entrusted to the sea. Closing her eyes, she gently caressed the surface of the still pool, observing the soft ripples that emanated from her touch, transforming the cavern into a celestial spectacle. The hum deepened, assuming a soothing cadence, as though the island itself invited her to find solace amidst its symphony. The glow followed her, as she made her way back onto the golden pathway. As the lantern figure led her through the Golden Meadow Island, Ilara's senses were enveloped in a symphony of sensation. Upon making contact with the soft, golden grass, she experienced an invigorating wave of warmth spreading throughout her being. The expansive landscape stretched out endlessly in front of her, with the tall blades of grass resembling the rhythmic movement of the sea's gentle waves. The air was suffused with the tantalizing scent of wild honey, creating an intoxicatingly sweet ambiance. The gentle breeze wafted across the golden meadow, the subtle whispers carried within its current enveloped Ilara in a soothing symphony. Each whisper seemed to carry an intimate narrative, a shared memory of past travelers seeking solace in this golden sanctuary. One voice recounted the tale of a weary wanderer who had found hope beneath the starlit sky, while another recounted the story of a wayward child who had followed the gentle fireflies back to the safety of home. The final whisper brought forth laughter, akin to a group of friends gathered around a cozy fire, their joy lingering in the air like a warm embrace. Amongst the golden meadow, Ilara discovered a landscape imbued with the essence of countless travelers that had traversed this place, as if whispers of their stories were interwoven within the very grass and the caressing breezes. She found herself lying amidst the flowers, enveloped by a blanket of living starlight, created by the gentle glow of the drifting fireflies. On those countless nights, she traversed through diverse and beguiling landscapes, from sparkling silver forests under glistening rain, to mesmerizing lakes mirroring the vastness of the galaxies. Each island she encountered carried its own unique voice, whispering tales of tranquility, patience, and each night spent on these enchanted islands, Ilara could feel herself growing more aligned to the world around her. She began to perceive a hidden rhythm beneath the mundane aspects of life. The pattering rain, the whispering wind, the hushed sounds of the sea, and through it all, the steady presence of the lantern figure remained steadfast, offering a reassuring guidance without uttering more than a few sparse words. For words were superfluous. Their mere presence conveyed a feeling of reassurance, an unspoken promise that she was never truly alone on her journey. As the lantern figure guided her towards a unique island, its crescent shape embracing the sea like a moon's gentle caress, Ilara perceived a distinctive tranquility in the air. A soft rhythm echoed from the waves, each wave's undulating melody harmonizing with the stillness that enveloped the island. Underneath the vast starlit sky, a singular tree stood tall, its ivory bark gleaming softly, and its shimmering silver leaves creating an ethereal aura. The branches, when gently stirred by the breeze, emitted a celestial chorus as they tinkled melodiously, crafting a lulling tune that blended seamlessly with the soothing sea's symphony. Ilara observed the serene island bathed in the ethereal glow of the stars and the soft luminescence of the silver leaves on the tree, a sense of peace washing over her like the waves that gently kissed the shores. As a gentle breeze stirred the leaves, the delicate chimes they created echoed like chimes in the night, their harmonious symphony blending with the steady rhythm of the waves. The atmosphere, laden with tranquility, seemed to slow time, wrapping her in a soothing embrace that seemed to whisper, "You are exactly where you need to be." As Alara's fingers brushed against the trunk, a sense of warmth and life pulsated beneath her touch, as if the tree itself were a living entity, breathing rhythmically. The lantern figure's voice broke the night silence, its tone as serene as the sea under the midnight sky. "You have traveled vast distances within the confines of your dreams," the figure continued, "each island a manifestation of the beauty that lies within your heart. These dreams, these paths, are gifts, insights into the depths of your soul, guiding you towards the journey that awaits in the waking world." As the lantern figure's light caressed the silvery branches, the tree emanated a stronger luminescence, its delicate foliage reaching out to embrace the celestial orbs above. The guiding voice continued, its tone a soothing whisper in the night's hush. "The dreams and the islands are reflections of a truth that lies within, like the gentle fall of rain, the embrace of the breeze, the soft, silver glow of stars, and the tranquil beauty of the sea. These moments of stillness and peace can be found even in the waking world. They are reminders of the magic that exists even in the ordinary moments." The lantern figure bid Ilara a gentle farewell, inviting her to find repose, and as the lantern's glow dwindled, blending seamlessly into the celestial canopy, embraced by the calm, silvery leaves and accompanied by the melodic symphony of the sea, she found herself enveloped in a realm where dream blended into reality, and the islands stood as eternal sanctuaries, ever patient, ready to cradle her weary spirit when the dawn came. As Ilara's eyelids lifted, awakening from her dream within a dream, she found herself transitioning from the silvery island to a vessel made of shimmering light, cruising calmly across an infinite ocean. Each wave's undulating movement was synchronized with her breathing, gently coaxing her thoughts into a peaceful state. In the tranquil silence, the tree's silvery leaves chimed gently whenever the boat swayed, creating a soothing symphony that embraced her senses. This journey was not merely a transition between sleep and wakefulness. It was an enchanted voyage that blended the worlds of dream and reality. The radiant school of fishes below the illuminated boat created an enchanted show of fleeting patterns, each formation appearing as if woven from the very essence of light itself. Intrigued, Ilara leaned over the edge of the vessel, mesmerized by the captivating display. Amidst the mesmerizing dance of the fish, the ever-present lantern figure spoke softly, their luminescent presence a familiar companion on her aquatic journey. "They are sharing their tales with you," the figure murmured. "Watch closely, and you may discern their language." As the boat drifted closer to an intriguing island veiled in mist, its surface akin to a cloud cluster, Ilara's curiosity piqued. The lantern keeper's words echoed in her mind, hinting at the island's deeper significance. Upon making landfall, she discovered an ethereal landscape where the ground beneath her feet surrendered to her step, resembling a cloud-soft haven woven from the essence of moss and starlight. A sense of tranquility enveloped her, and the mist whispered secrets as it curled around her like a gentle embrace, wrapping her in the island's mystical aura. As Ilara walked through the misty landscape, the ethereal shapes took form before her, gracefully pirouetting until they solidified into the ethereal figures of deer, owls, and foxes. Each shape was a wispy whisper, ephemeral yet reassuring. Suddenly a colossal form coalesced before her, resembling a majestic stag, its antlers a symphony of cloud-like light. The majestic creature lowered its head, acknowledging Ilara with a gesture of grace, as the mist danced and dispersed like falling flower petals, creating a mesmerizing spectacle. As Ilara's fingertips brushed against the foggy form, an inexplicable glow emanated from her hand, a tangible affirmation of the connection she had forged with the stag. As the lantern keeper's voice drifted through the mist, echoing with profound wisdom, Ilara nodded in understanding, accepting the silent language of dreams. Gently settling herself on the mushy, misty ground, Ilara watched as the ethereal figures encircled her, their forms gently swirling like wisps of smoke caught in a gentle breeze. The mist enveloped her, acting as a comforting veil, while the distant sound of the ocean wove its soothing rhythm. As Ilara blinked away the remnants of her dream, she discovered her surroundings had shifted once more. The misty island and the majestic, fog-like stag dissolved into the air, but the silver boat patiently awaited her, its luminescence steady and unwavering, seemingly unperturbed by the passage of time. Upon stepping back onto the vessel, she noticed a mesmerizing transformation in the surrounding sea. The waves glimmered with a dazzling array of colors, their hues reminiscent of a celestial canvas painted with blues, pinks, and greens, resembling a reflection of the stars above. As the boat approached the unusual island, Ilara beheld an extraordinary sight. A round, bowl-shaped landmass bedecked with countless glowing flowers, their petals, like nature's glowing lanterns, gracefully unfolded and closed in a rhythmic dance, releasing minuscule wisps of light that ascended into the sky before gradually fluttering back down in a mesmerizing ballet. Each cautious step upon the ground, a dull luminescence responded beneath her feet, as if the island itself was alive with a subtle brilliance. A soothing fragrance, reminiscent of rain-kissed foliage mixed with a touch of honey, enveloped her senses. As Ilara ventured deeper into the verdant field, she beheld the enchanting spectacle of the exquisite flowers, each one holding an extraordinary secret within their delicate petals. Curiously peering closer, she discovered that the glowing blossoms cradled precious memory fragments, tender moments like a child's laughter, a bird's graceful flight, and two hands holding one another. The lantern keeper emerged beside her, its radiant presence a familiar companion on this journey. The guide's words echoed with profound wisdom. "These are fragments of joy," it explained, each one holding a unique moment of happiness from the world itself. As Ilara delicately touched one of the radiant flowers, its image shifted, showcasing a familiar sight. Her cozy cottage adorned with the glow of a lantern by the door. A feeling of comfort and serenity flooded her heart, not tinged with longing, but filled with contentment. The flowers gracefully swayed in a gentle dance, their soft radiance enveloping her as if in silent affirmation. She found herself laying among them, surrendering to the calming rhythm of her own breath, each inhalation infusing her with tranquility, each exhalation releasing any lingering anxieties. The stars leaned closer to observe, the ocean's waves caressed the island's shoreline, while the lantern keeper's light flickered in unison with the swaying flowers. All around, the atmosphere pulsated with a serene rhythm, devoid of haste or urgency. Having been rejuvenated by the tranquility of the moment, Ilara rose and walked towards the patiently awaiting silver boat. As she boarded once more, a sense of calm permeated her entire being. The radiant field gradually dissipated into the distance, merging with the surrounding sea as the boat glided forward, carrying her into new realms of dreams. The boat carried Ilara across the silvery expanse, its path illuminated by the soft glow of the sea and the steady light of the lantern. She watched the waves rise and fall gently, their rhythm like whispers in the night. Soon another island appeared ahead, surrounded by an aura of tranquil mystery. As the boat neared the shore, the water seemed to sparkle with the promise of untold stories. An unseen force tugged at her heart, telling her that this island was different. Ilara's anticipation grew as the boat reached the mysterious island. The air was filled with an inexplicable energy, as though the very essence of this place was speaking to her. The lantern keeper stood silently beside her, their presence both reassuring and expectant. With a sense of purpose, Ilara stepped onto the golden sand. The landscape was breathtaking. Tall palms swayed gently in the breeze, and the air was alive with the sounds of birds and insects. And yet, there was something in the very essence of the island that felt like home.